Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. On today's episode, I have Carlos Mijares, who is a physician assistant and local provider in the Cary area. Today we talk about how Carlos had gone through PA school, was injured as a runner and as a weightlifter, and came to see us for physical therapy. In our episode, he describes how his care at Next Level as a provider was much different than what he received at other PT practices. So we're going to dive into that today. Carlos, welcome to our podcast. I'm so excited to deep dive into your history, not only as a physician assistant, but I want to dive into kind of why you chose to come to Next Level Physio, how your experience has been, and what you have to say to other people who might be on the fence about coming to Next Level. So let's get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh man, my pleasure. It's been a long time coming. And what's really cool about Carlos, if you're listening in, is that he's a super fit PA. And in my experience, I don't meet a lot of professionals or healthcare professionals who actually walk the walk or walk the talk. So it's really refreshing to meet people like Carlos who really do care about their own bodies, and in doing so actually provide a good example for the patients that they treat. So Carlos, can you talk to me more about, or talk to us all about kind of your profession as a physician assistant?
Yeah. So physician assistants are mid-level providers who diagnose and treat patients through all walks of life. So for me personally, my start as a physician assistant was in orthopedics. So I worked in that for about close to 3 years in various settings. Primarily, at first it was an urgent care setting, and then moved on to surgery. So I was working with sports medicine and joint replacement surgeons. I moved on to working with an orthopedic spine surgeon for some time, and then I switched over and I worked with another orthopedic spine surgeon as well. So my background has been primarily in ortho. More recently, I have been in a little different step. I went into bariatric surgery, and that has been a whole new world. So
tell us more about that.
Yeah. So just getting a whole lot more experience into the metabolic medicine side of things. This particular practice, Bruce Wellness and Aesthetics, previously Bruce Bariatrics, also is heading into the direction of aesthetic medicine as well. But we also have a wing of the practice known as Primary Body Works that works with acute acoustic wave therapy and electromagnetic type of therapies to help patients get out of pain as well. So
that's awesome.
It's a super cool side of things that in the ortho world, I hadn't gotten a full taste of that yet.
That's great. And so it's funny because both you and I, we've used regenerative modalities like the Shockwave, like EMTT, and have found substantial benefit from that. And it sounds like you have definitely your practice as well with your patients with injuries.
Absolutely, 100%. We have patients, like I said, all walks of life. So we see some patients who come in because they have an injury from a sports practice, or they might be youth collegiate athletes. But we also, what we primarily get is your 50 to 70-year-old patient who maybe tweaked while they were gardening, and now they're having some knee pain or some back pain. And we've seen amazing results from that.
That's cool. Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't used Focused Shockwave before, we have that also at our Next Level office in Cary. And it has been a game changer. In addition to using that with our radial shockwave, the two together have been an amazing combination. And we're also looking forward to getting that EMTT device to even further enhance the effects without surgery, which is great.
Absolutely. I actually didn't know about it until I came here to Next Level.
Oh, really?
Physio. You guys introduced me to it between the Shockwave and the BFR. And those were like absolute game changers in my recovery with my own personal injury and rehab.
That's awesome. So, Carlos, you moved from Venezuela and came here, and you live in Miami, which is amazing. I love Miami. What brought you up to this area of the States?
Yeah. So my wife and I both grew up in Miami, lived there our whole lives. And we knew that if at some point we wanted to move out, went to school together. So we've known each other since high school.
Oh, that's
and
great.
We've gone through all the different life stages together. It took us through living in South Bend, Indiana for a year while she was doing her training.
Wow.
It took us to North Florida, but we knew that eventually we moved back to Miami for some time for my own medical program. But at some point we wanted to move out of Florida. just to see something else. I had heard about North Carolina from one of my professors who went to Wake Forest University up in Winston.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come to North Carolina, see what's going on there. So I did, and it looked beautiful. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay. I told my wife, like, you don't know yet, but I think we're going to move to North Carolina. And
That's
sure enough, she found a position while I was still finishing my medical program, and she got it. And we made the move 4 years ago. So
Oh, that's
couldn't be
awesome.
happier.
It's funny. I think we moved to North Carolina around the same time because I came down from Jersey about
Yeah.
4 years ago. And I love it here. I love the people I've met. It's been a great environment to open up a practice to and serving the local community in Cary, Raleigh, and also now Chapel Hill and Durham. So I think we both came and we're
Yeah.
both excited to live here and practice here. So
It's such a
really
nice
cool.
place to
It's
live
great. I love
and
it.
to work in. I think what I love the most, obviously, it's beautiful,
Yeah.
right? But the people are very kind,
Yeah.
very active community as
I
well,
love that. Yeah.
which is I love it. I have no plans to go anywhere else.
Yeah, and it's funny for people like you and me where we do live an active lifestyle. It's really important to know that the communities that we're in do have that kind of community vibe available as
Right.
well.
All right.
So let's talk about what you actually do for your own physical activities. I know you and I think we're both doing Bull City.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. I think we
Yeah.
just decided this moment. But
Nice.
yeah.
So we're both doing the Bull City Half Marathon this coming Sunday.
Yeah.
And of course, I'll let Carlos win because it's a client. But
I don't think so.
yeah. But and you're also into weightlifting too.
Yeah.
You're pretty jacked. So let's talk about that lifestyle.
Yeah. So that is actually relatively newer to me. So unlike most people that I know now that are into weightlifting, they started in high school and they were part of a college team. That wasn't my experience. I actually didn't get into weightlifting until halfway through my undergrad. I joined the rugby club at
Oh.
my school at University of Florida.
Nice.
And those guys were lifting, and you got to do some strength training because
Yeah.
you take some hits there. And I took my fair share of them too. But for sure. So that was my introduction to weightlifting. And since then, I've loved it. I've done some things that worked well, some things I needed to work on and to really pin down to get it right because they led me to have some imbalances and some injuries that I've been getting some help from you guys in fixing.
Mhm.
But that was my introduction to the weightlifting side
Wow.
of things.
That's great. So it's cool because I think you and I are both in the hybrid athlete category where we both like to lift and we both like to run.
Yeah,
So it makes us versatile as you and I get younger, we'll say.
that's right.
So let's talk about what you did before you came to CS Next Level, because obviously you're a medical professional, you have access to things, but something about what you were doing before wasn't working for you. So I want to know what you did before you came to see us.
Yeah, so working in orthopedics, my experience there, I think I have a fair amount of knowledge as to what was going on.
Sure.
I think I didn't know the extent of it, or it's sometimes difficult to self-diagnose without a extra set of hands to push
Yeah.
it and diagnose the right way and do a proper physical exam. But I would do some of my own rehab exercises that I know and I recommended to patients. It got to a point that only took me so far,
Yeah.
and then I started seeking help out from outward. So
Yeah.
I went to a couple other physical therapy offices prior to this, but I feel like the level of connection and engagement between myself being a provider, but
Yeah.
now on this side of things, and the therapist that I was working with was not all there.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that was the difference that I really found with you guys in Next Level Physio that just blows them out of the water.
So talking to like a typical server, a typical session over at another PT office, was it like you came in, you pay your copay, and then you're on the table? How does that work?
Yeah, so I feel like there was no real plan. It was done on the fly based on a 45-second conversation that I could have with the therapist.
Yeah.
And it felt like one in particular, it felt like I was just a number because I was there and there was four other people going at the same time. And I was like, well, what about me? Like I'm paying a full copay here. And like,
Yeah.
I want some of this one-on-one time
Yeah.
that as a provider, I try to be as, dedicated as I can. And my full attention goes to the patient and nothing else around me is happening. Right. So I think I went in it with that kind of expectation.
Interesting.
And I was a little disappointed by that.
Oh,
So
man. So it sounds like you tried the stuff and it didn't really get you better. It just like maybe put band-aids on stuff.
yeah, and it felt like it was cookie cutter. So it didn't feel like it was something that was customized to me and there was the feedback that I would give, this may be working, this is not working, it was not being addressed in the ways that I would have hoped.
Got it. So it sounds like went in as very transactional.
Mhm.
Just do your thing, Carlos, get through it, and then say goodbye. And then that was pretty much your session.
Right.
That's really sneaky. So then when you came over here, what was the big difference? It sounds like we were more engaging. Can you talk more about what your experience was here?
So I think the biggest thing was the first session was just an evaluation. It's just like everything down to history, what's been working, what hasn't been working. And Dr. Megan actually took the time and went through the entire plan, which I thought was huge. I hadn't had that experience,
Oh,
right?
interesting. Yeah.
So she went through what to expect. We're going to get you out of pain. We're going to be working on some strengthening, building the right foundation for you. And I think the main thing that stuck out to me is that she said, well, recovery is not going to be a straight line, right? It's going to be up in the up direction. But
Yeah.
there's going to be some setbacks here and there. And I think going into it with that expectation was everything to me,
Yeah.
right? Because like I could see it, I'm like, okay, it's happening. I'm like, I want to push it a little bit more, but I feel a little setback. But I feel better overall.
Yeah.
So I think having that from the get-go was something that I hadn't experienced before.
That's awesome. And it sounds like then based on what you got before at other PT practices, that maybe your plan of care was really custom fit for you then, Carlos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one thing, it's the constant communication and the feedback that we get with you guys that makes the whole program work, right?
Yeah.
Because I come in here, Dr. Megan asked me what worked well this week, what didn't work well, how did you feel? And based on that, then we can tweak things in the plan
Yeah.
to continue improving on that.
That's awesome. And Carlos, I know that you came in for a couple of things. What was the main thing you came in with initially?
Yeah. So I had trained for my first marathon actually.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
So
know
I
that.
ran Tobacco Road Marathon earlier in the spring.
It's March-ish, right? I think.
March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I trained for that block for 16 weeks and it was fine. I was having occasional pain, like glute medius on my left side. Occasionally I would have some hip flexor pain, some tightness there, but generally would go away, not much trouble. Finished the marathon, crushed my goal that I had I just want to finish. Right. But I had a secondary goal. I'm like, okay, I got that. I felt good.
Yeah.
And then I started strength training again. I wanted to continue running, but I started noticing that I was having some left hip pain that was just like recurrent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm strength training. I can't get a hold of exactly what it is. So I started seeking some of those therapies with other physical therapy offices, and it just wasn't getting to it.
Yeah.
So that's what led me to you guys.
I see. So then, and how did you find us again?
So I used to work with Dr. Philip Horn.
Yes, Dr. Phil. Yes.
Yeah, so he's fantastic orthopedic spine surgeon in the area.
Yeah.
And he actually introduced me to you. I think
I met you
guys,
one time at your office, at his office rather.
That's right.
Oh, that's where it all started.
Yeah. So I feel I'm like, I gotta talk to that guy. We're gonna be good friends.
That's
so.
awesome. Yeah. And I love the energy you bring to our office. And I always tell our clients and our staff, what makes Next Level special is not only the culture that we have here, but it's also the kind of people that we attract to our practice. So these are people who are like-minded, very active in their 40s, 50s, even 30s, and want to keep just like pushing the envelope and doing things that are hard. And life is hard, but if you get used to doing things that are hard, life
Right.
becomes a little easier.
Absolutely.
And people like you, when you bring your own energy in there, it really makes for that dynamic to really be interactive between our patients and with our staff. So
Yeah.
people like you are who we're looking to get. So it's good.
That's awesome. I'm happy to be here. You guys match that energy, right? Yeah. Right. It's not one-sided. It's you get it from both ends too. So
Yeah. One of my mentors would say that there's transactional relationships, which is just like, hey, like we experienced at the other PT place. But then there's a like transrelational relationship where it's like, yeah, we're obviously as an exchange, but it's really about how we can actually make this work together. We're partnering in this plan of care for you because we want it. It means a lot to us when we see our patients get past what they thought they could do. For me, that's super exciting. That's why we called it Next Level. It's really about everyone getting to the next level because once you get there, there's something more to go after.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
never ends.
Never ends. That's the thing.
Yeah. It's always another challenge.
Exactly.
Just get a little bit better every day.
So, Carl, since you've been coming under Dr. Megan's care, and Dr. Megan's amazing, what have you been able to get back to since coming to see us?
Yeah, so I have been able to get back to my running. I was actually telling you earlier today, I've been hesitant to push the envelope a little bit
Yeah,
more on
yeah.
my runs, but I've been doing it for the last several weeks, running pain free. And it
Hey.
was getting to a point that because of the symptoms, even with some walking, I would feel like some
Oh,
mornings like
wow.
I'm limping a little bit. Like
Yeah,
I definitely feel that soreness. Forget about running.
yeah.
But I've been able to run completely pain free and at my best paces that I've been able to have, even compared to what I was running for the marathon. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to get some training under my belt and build that mileage up again.
I love that. And I'm glad we're going to be running with you
Yeah.
on Sunday. The other question I had, was there any kind of worry or concern that you were having? You're still a young guy, relatively speaking. And I know for me, like working out is everything. Like this is how I maintain my sanity. It's how I get through my day. It's how I continue to live the hard life or live as hard as I can. What was like working out for you? What did that mean to you?
Yeah. I think that's a huge one. I can relate to that. Right. So I definitely feel the difference when I'm not working out. Like if I
Yeah.
take a few days off, like I don't feel like myself. I'm not like
Foggy.
not my best self. Yes, I just feel it. So definitely a big part of keeping me sane. And I think it's just that habit of having it. It just leads to a clearer mind and to making better decisions throughout the day
Yeah.
about everything.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
and being a provider, you know that it all stems from where you're at.
Yeah.
So if you're not feeling well, what kind of care are you going to be providing to your
100%.
patients?
Exactly. What kind of spouse can you be? What kind of partner can you be?
Absolutely.
For sure. I always feel like a lot of our clients, especially as we see a lot of runners and hybrid athletes, like I said, and it's their identity. It's their
Hmm.
social circle. It's what they do on the weekends. It's who they are.
Yeah.
And when you are chronically in pain or can't get over something that's been bothering you for a long time and not able to do the things that you love, it's very demoralizing. And for a lot of people, it can really send them to a downward spiral.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely felt that as well. Whereas like this pain again, like I feel like I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, but I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could definitely be very demoralizing to go through that.
Yeah. That's funny. In one of my emails I send out to all of our clients, I talk about how I was dealing with this back pain issue for a long time. And every time it would pop up again, it was like, oh my God, that back pain again. And it would make me hesitant about exercising and whatnot. So it was very, in a little way stressful, just because I felt like, well, I can't push as hard as I want to because I'm
Right.
afraid I might get hurt again. And finally I got it fixed, and it's been almost a year now, which has been freaking amazing.
Amazing.
I just feel like totally uninhibited. And I want that feeling of relief and that feeling of I can get back to what I want to do for everyone who comes in. And that's what motivates me to really be curious and stay curious, even though I've been out as for over 20 years, to make sure that I can bring in the best technology.
Yeah.
We can bring in the best methodologies, because things have changed over time as well, to make sure that our patients get the very best from us.
Yeah. 100%. Couldn't agree more. We have to stay up with all of these things, right? Because there's medicine and physical therapy and all these modalities are in constant motion. So
Yeah.
trying to stay ahead of the curve at the cutting edge and bring the best to give the best to our patients. That's ultimately what we want.
Definitely. And it's an honor for us to be treating other providers in healthcare like yourself, Carlos. For anyone who might be on the fence about coming to see us, we're not the cheapest game in town, I know. But if there's anyone on the fence about coming to see us at Next Level, what kind of things would you want to say to them to encourage them to see us?
Don't walk, run. Do it. Do it. Don't think about it.
Yes.
You guys are fantastic.
Thank you.
You won't regret coming here from anywhere from the personalized design plans that are customized to you and your problem. You guys are fantastic to be around.
Thank you.
So that's just an added bonus, but you guys are incredible.
Wow. Carlos, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you on Sunday and
Absolutely.
maybe other races in the future too.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a couple coming up in a couple weeks. City of Oaks. I plan
Are you
to
doing
be
it
there.
too? Oh, I'm going to be there
Yep.
too. All right.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
going to be
Very
doing
nice.
the 10K with my wife. Actually, she's going to be participating. It's
Very
her
nice.
first race.
Is it
So
ever?
yeah.
Oh man, that's really
So I'm
cool.
super excited to be there for it. I hope she's as excited as I am.
Should be excited that it's done. Once you're done.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carlos.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least one or two helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.